The Spy Who Loved Me is a 1977 film, which is the 10th in the James Bond series that was produced by Eon Productions. It happens to be the third that stars Roger Moore as the fictional secret agent, James Bond. The movie's co-stars are Barbara Bach and Kurt Jurgens, and it was directed by Louis Gilbert. It was shot on location in Egypt, around Cairo, and Luxor, and also in Italy near Sardinia, with the underwater scenes being filmed in the Bahamas. The interior stuff was done at Pinewood Studios on a brand new soundstage that was massive. It had to be this large for the interior shots of the huge supertanker. In this film, we find James Bond on his new mission to find out how the Royal Navy Polaris submarine holding 16 nuclear warheads simply disappeared while it was on patrol. Bond joins Major Anya Amasova and takes on the mastermind known as Carl Stromberg, as well as his henchman with the name of Jaws. Called this because he has a mouthful of metal teeth. Bond must track down the location of this missing submarine before the warheads are fired. By the time this movie was made, the James Bond film franchise was the most lucrative in the world, and many manufacturers wanted their products featured in the film. There was a great competition for the company that would supply Bond's car. Don McLaughlin, public relations manager for Lotus, realized that the best way to win this coveted position was to make the producers actually chase after him rather than going begging to them. One day he turned up at Pinewood Studios driving a brand new, unreleased Lotus Esprit, but he had all the identifying names covered up on it. He parked it outside the Bond set, knowing that the producers would see it when they broke for lunch. Once the car had attracted a crowd, all wanting to know what the car was, McLaughlin nonchalantly got into the car and drove away without answering any questions about the car. As he had expected, the producers were desperate to discover what this car was, and the producer later on chose it for the movie. The stunt driver was having problems making this car look exciting enough in the chase scenes, and this was all because it held the road so well. You see, it had to be driven dangerously fast to make it slide impressively on the corners. One scene in Sardinia required the car to drive up a hill, on a mountain pass, and around a sharp bend. The normal stunt driver was not available. The crew who was waiting at the top asked a Lotus employee named Roger Becker to drive the car up, and he did just that, skidding dramatically around the corners and making another dramatic 180-degree turn on a gravel area as he stopped up on top of the mountain. The crew asked him, "Would you mind doing that again? And this time we'll have the cameras rolling." From that point on, Roger became the stunt driver for the shots involving this car. Rick Sylvester's opening ski stunt was shot on the top of Asgard Peak on Baffin Island in Canada. The summit was only accessible by helicopter. A small crew, including Sylvester and second unit director John Glenn, traveled there in July of 1976, a month before they started principal photography on the film. They stayed at a neighboring village for 10 days, awaiting for the right weather conditions to shoot this scene. Numerous cameras were positioned around the site to capture the moment. All of the camera operators felt like they had lost sight of the skier as he went sailing off the cliff, except one camera, which stayed with him throughout the stunt. That scene was all uncut. Sylvester received $30,000 for his role in this stunt, but it said that he also received an additional bonus once he had completed this shot. Richard Kyle, who played Jaws, could only keep the metal teeth that he wore in his mouth for about half a minute at a time, due to the excessive pain that it caused in his mouth. He often had to show comedic expressions on camera, which were quite contrary to the way he was feeling because of wearing these uncomfortable braces. In one scene, you see him bite through a chain. Well, that chain was actually made of licorice. It wasn't metal at all. It sure looks convincing, though. He also had a stunt double named Martin Grace that was used in some of the shots that were not so direct and not so focused on him. To simulate these teeth in his stunt double, all they did was take an orange peel and wrapped it in aluminum foil and had him put it in his mouth in front of his teeth. A real interesting point of trivia is that Elvis Presley saw this movie on Wednesday, August 10th, 1977, during a special viewing. You see, he would rent out the theater at the Southland Mall, but this so happens is the last movie that Elvis ever saw. He died 6 days later on Tuesday, August 16th, 1977. The title song, Nobody Does It Better, was sung by Carly Simon, with the music by Marvin Hamlish. It's the second Bond theme song to be titled differently from the name of the movie, although the phrase, "The Spy Who Loved Me," is included in the lyrics of the song. The first differently named theme is All the Time in the World from the movie On Her Majesty's Secret Service. One of the first directors that they considered for this project was a little-known guy named Steven Spielberg. There was some worry, though, about his inexperience, but he was caught up in a lengthy production schedule for a little-known movie that he was making at the time called Jaws. This movie almost single-handedly changed American views of Russian women. Before it came out, all Russian women were assumed by Americans to be outright hideous, to the point that American comedians, especially the hugely influential Johnny Carson, could count on getting cheap and easy laughs by poking fun of the Russian women. Carson went on to admit during a visit by Roger Moore to his show that movie had ruined half of his jokes. A representative from the Egyptian government was on set throughout the shoot in Cairo and Giza to make sure that the country was not portrayed in an unflattering light. For that reason, when the scaffolding collapses on Jaws and Bond utters, "Egyptian builders," Roger Moore merely mouthed that line during filming, and it was dubbed in later. It went unnoticed by the official Egyptian minder, and ironically, it got a great laugh from Egyptian audiences. Now, Carolyn Monroe plays the villain of Naomi. Her casting for this role was inspired by an advertising campaign that she had made. She had appeared in Lamb's Navy Rum in this highly successful campaign, often clad in a nearly unzipped wetsuit. She was the face of this advertisement over many years. But during one of the days of filming, where she makes her entrance into the film, she struggled quite a bit. Prior to her introduction, she accidentally sat on a bee and was stung hard on her behind. It swelled up quite a bit and caused her considerable pain and discomfort. She was pushed on by the filmmakers to complete this scene. When she's shown boating and greeting Roger Moore and Barbara Bach, that stern look on her face wasn't due to the character of the henchwoman that she was playing, but from the pain from sitting on that bee sting on her backside. This film grossed $185 million worldwide, with $46 million of that coming from the U.S. alone. Take a look back at this fun James Bond film They're always a blast from the past. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.